Hello everyone, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Make It Monday. It is Monday, April 4th. I don't know where the year is going here, but I'm very glad that you were able to join me tonight. There's lots going on right now in the Stampin' Up! World. We've got a catalog that's going to be ending soon, which means there's last chance items available on the website right now for things that won't be carrying over into the new catalog. So be sure you check that out. Today I am going to show you a really cool card that I made, and I'm going to kind of show you the opposite card so that I'm using up the pieces that I created and punched out. I've got my helper here today. Angel has not wanted to leave. I've tried pulling her off a couple times and she's just decided to hang around, so I'm kind of hoping once I start assembling my card that maybe she'll jump down. No guarantees. She kind of does what she wants. She's the old lady of the house. Anyhow, apparently she's not going to show her face today, just her tail and back end. Anyway, I'm kind of using colors that don't really show up on this designer series paper when you look at what the catalog says it should be. And then I'm also using up the bits and pieces that I created with my punch as I was doing this card, and basically was able to get 2 cards without doing a great deal of extra work for that. So keep that in mind with this layout. If it's something that you like and you want to create more cards, it is pretty easy to do, because when you use your punches, you're basically creating enough for 2 cards. And I used my layering circles to create another element of this card and just cut it in half. So for each circle I die cut, I was getting 2 cards out of that as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you the card and then I'll walk through the process. And again, I'm kind of doing the opposite color for the card I'm going to share with you today, just so that I was using up my scraps. Okay, so this is the card that I created. It's Gray Granite and Blushing Bride, using the designer series paper, Bloom Where You're Planted. And that is this set. And if you recall from past videos when I've used this, lots of darker color tones, none of this pastel stuff. But if you look at the back side of each of the designer series pieces, they are very neutral, and so they're going to lend themselves to going with other colors very easily. So I'm using this particular piece, which is Gray Granite, but then, like I said, I've paired it with Blushing Bride. Now this paper will be retiring and is available as a last chance item. And, you know, take a look if you really like it. Make sure you get it added to your order right away so that it doesn't sell out on you. Once things kind of hit this last chance, a lot of them are only available while supplies last. So that's why I want to encourage you to get it sooner than later if it's something you're interested in. So anyhow, no pink tones in here, but I made it work. And then I'm basically using, like I said, Gray Granite and Blushing Bride, and those are my 2 color schemes, and letting everything else make the card pop. So here's my circle that I cut out with the layered die, and then I'm just using the other half of it to create my second card. So that's where I'm saying you're doing a lot of work to make 2 cards. Most of the work that you're doing is already going to create 2 cards for you, so you might as well plan on making 2 cards. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of Blushing Bride cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead. It looks like Angel is not going to be joining us for the whole video, so that's good, and I won't get too much cat hair maybe in my adhesive. So I had 5.5 by 8.5, and then it also takes 2 pieces of Gray Granite that measure 4 by 5.25, and I needed another one of these little gray pieces to make my card. So rather than chomping up another bit of paper, and I didn't have any scraps left that were going to fit it, I just punched it out of this piece that I know is going to be covered by my designer series paper, which just fell to the floor when the cat jumped down. Let me grab that. So it'll be covered, so no harm done there. And then you need your half circle. This is, I believe it's the 3rd largest circle in the layering dies set, layering circle dies set. So you can grab that. I need 2 of the leaf pieces, these come from the Bough Punch. This punch is carrying over in the annual catalog. So both pieces are on here. So literally you know, 2 punches, actually with 4 punches, you're making enough of the die cuts to do 2 cards. So just another time saver if you're looking to mass produce cards. So anyhow, this punch, the Bough Punch, will be carrying over into the new annual catalog when that one comes out. And then on the inside of my card, usually I use basic white, but this gray granite is light enough that you can write on it and it's still visible. So I've chosen to use that on the inside of my card just to have something a little bit different going on, I guess. I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and start assembling our card. The first thing I always like to do is the stamping portion. And the reason for that is I just always like to make sure that my ink is going to be dry when I go to use it. So I've got my gray granite ink pad. I'm just going to pop it open. And on the inside, I'm using a note of thanks. And on this bowl, I'm going to use for all the great things you do. And this combination of stamps comes from the Wildlife Wonder. It's these 2 pieces here. I'm guessing this is meant to kind of go on the outside, a note of thanks, and on the inside for all the great things you do. Honestly, for all the great things you do fits better on my flower pot, so I'm switching it up. So don't be afraid to do that with your stamp sets, even if it looks like it might make more sense. Who's to say? Wildlife Wonder will be in the next annual catalog as well. So let's go ahead and start our stamping. And I'm just putting a note of thanks on the inside, and I want to be able to write, so I'm going to do it kind of top center. And I'm just using tone on tone coloring because I'm using the same color as the paper there. But it's a dark enough color, it shows up. And then for all the great things that you do, just make sure you've kind of got it centered on the pot so that the words aren't going to fall off the edges. And there you go. All right, I'm going to set those 2 away so I don't inadvertently drop stuff into it. Ooh, that was being a little hard to close. All right, and now we can start assembling. So I'm going to work on this piece first. We're going to use adhesive and add the Designer Series paper to the front of the card, and I'm just going to cover up where I punched out. That's a great way to save on paper, especially I like doing that when I'm using foil, so I'm not wasting anything. But if it's not going to show, who cares? Nobody's going to know. And then I'm going to add adhesive to this layer. I need to remind myself to run it lightly and use the check mark. It works a lot better than when you put too much pressure on. And then we're just going to center this on the front of the card. And it doesn't really matter which end this ends up on, but I am going to put it on the bottom just in case that indentation shows it all, because I know I'm going to cover it with the flower pot. For the most part, it will hide any imperfections that might show through. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this on the inside of the card. And there's one of my free cat hair that I share with nearly every card I make. All right. And then I'm just going to put this centered on the inside of the card. There we go. So we'll set that apart or aside. I just love this combination of the gray granite and the Blushing Bride. Very pretty, I think. All right, and then to get things to adhere here, I kind of played around looking for something that was visually pleasing to me and ended up sort of with these 3 smaller ones in the middle and the 2 pink coming behind it, coming out of the flower pot. So to create this, what I did was just run some adhesive on the back side of the card. And then because I want these gray images to be in the front of the pot, I stuck them there first and started by putting one in the center, and then I just kind of angled out to either side of the center. And then I took these pink leafy things, I guess they are, and put them down in between the flowers. Oops. And they don't have to go in at the same height. You can alter that a little bit. And to make sure that stuff is going to stick, I'm adhering this pot. I'm actually raising it up on my card. So I'm going to be adhering it with dimensionals. So I'm going to start just by putting a dimensional right in the middle there. And that'll hold everything in place, plus hold the flower pot onto my card. So kind of dual purpose with the dimensionals. And then I'm going to take some of my mini dimensionals, if I can find them. There they are. And I'm going to put them on the leaves, and I'm just kind of centering them on the leaves so they don't hang over. Some of the leaves are bigger than others, so it makes it easier. And all I'm trying to do is just give a little extra security to the leaves so that they don't bend over or anything and fall off the card. Okay, and then instead of centering it, I have chosen to kind of put it down in the corner a little bit. And what that does is just adds a little bit of an element there that normally I'm centering my cards, and this time I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm just trying to get all the dimensionals off. And as you're pulling the dimensionals off, the pink may cover up the gray granite piece. Just rearrange it. You'll be fine. Okay, and so there I've got those pieces attached. And then to add a little bit of bling, I'm using the iridescent rhinestones. This too will be carrying over in the annual catalog, so you will be able to use these again on cards in the future. And I'm using the kind of putty end of my take your pick tool to grab my sequins, and I'm putting my little one here because I think the pot needs something. And I like to use sequins in groups of 3. I don't know why. I just do. A lot of times I'll do them in all 3 sizes that are available. Don't know why. Just like that look. So that is our completed card. So here's what it looks like with the gray granite base, and using the Blushing Bride as kind of the accent color. So I've kind of reversed these 2 pieces. And then this is using the Blushing Bride as the base of my card with gray granite as the accent piece, including the grayed flowers in front of the pink leaves. And I think it works. I think I actually almost like the Blushing Bride one better. What do you guys think? I don't know why, but I just think it's a very easy to make thank you card. And a little bit different because I'm not using basic white on the inside. I'm punching out pieces that are sufficient to make 2 cards without really creating any extra work for me. Because when I cut my cardstock, I'm cutting 2 pieces already, and cutting, you know, I've got all the pieces as I'm starting to cut stuff. So it's a good card to make 2 of when you do sit down to make them. So the other thing that I did end up with is I do have 1 extra set of leaves and 1 extra set of flowers. So I thought I would just come in here, and I'm actually going to use some of my glue dots and my take your pick tool, and I'm just going to lift a couple of the mini glue dots. These are left over from a paper pumpkin. That's why they're not on a roll, in case you're wondering. And we'll put a glue dot on each of the flowers on this piece. And I'm just going to use this to decorate the inside of my card, and because I have one of each color, it's pretty easy to make that happen. So we'll just put it down in the corner here, and looks like I need a little bit of adhesive to put the stem down. Easy enough to fix. Pull the backing off. And again, I'll just put this right here on the inside, and I'm guessing I'm going to need just a little bit of glue there to hold that down. And essentially what I've done is created a card that's used up all of the pieces that I punched out in the process of setting up for one card. So I don't have any leftover odds and ends with this card. So there you go. Again, the designer series paper will be leaving at the end of this catalog. Everything else that I used today will be carrying over into the new catalog, including the Bough Punch and the Wildlife Wonder stamp set and the iridescent rhinestones. I think these are so pretty, and they pick up the color a lot of times of what you're working on. So they're very versatile as well. So I hope you enjoyed this card. Give it a go. I liked using this to become a flower bowl, so it's not just a circle punch or circle die actually that I used, but I can create kind of a flower pot with that. And I think this would work well with other papers that we've got. So just take a look at what you have in your collection and see what you can come up with doing a similar layout here. And if you do make the card, be sure to post it in the comments. I'd love to see what you create. And again, I thank you all for joining me tonight for Make It Monday. And I will see you next week. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you.